Bart, what'd you get out of that competition during training camp?
Well, hopefully we got a good starting group out of it. The competition was great for our unit, great for the offense. Really pushed some of the guys and elevated some of the other guys' play. So we feel like we're going in with a group of guys that can compete, and we're pretty excited about it.
Brett was talking about how it could be similar last year, early in the season, rotating guys. So does that competition continue even as you get in the season?
Yes and no. I mean, it's never not a competition. It's a terrible way to say it, but we're going to have guys that continue to elevate their game, and we're always going to need more because of injuries and things like that. We got a couple guys still banged up with some things, so we'll see kind of how the game progresses. But I'd like to get some of those guys in and see them compete because they've earned it.
Do you feel like you might have more guys that you could feel comfortable putting in there if need be, just maybe compared to the last few years as you built to this point? Maybe?
Yeah, I think we are developing good depth. I think that was a goal of ours in the spring. It was a goal of ours this fall camp. We've got, I would say, probably 7 or 8 guys now that are working their way into potentially playing in a Big Ten game. And so that's an exciting thing for us. And we keep getting better. Some of the younger guys coming along, some of the guys that haven't had a lot of experience, right? And developing that depth. Because like I said before, we're going to need guys to play. We got pretty fortunate last year, had 1 game with an injury, and other than that unit stayed pretty much intact. And I think that's a rarity in today's world, just with how violent the game is. But we're feeling pretty good about where we're headed. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a stupid question. I'm sure you won't tell me, but how did that competition end up on the right side?
You guys will see on Saturday in Toledo. It's. I'm sure you could probably guess who's in there, but it's been a healthy one, and each of those guys have been playing. We had guys worth the ones today with different reps with the ones today, so we're excited about what's going to be out there, and it's going to be a physical group. I'll tell you that.
I know you said game dependent, but do you go in with a plan to rotate a few guys in certain spots and so many snaps or that kind of thing?
I think it depends on how the game's going and the health of some of the starters. But there's guys that we certainly trust in there, and wouldn't bat an eye to put them in. So it depends on how the game's going and how we're playing and what we need to do to best help the team at that point.
Coach, what are some of the challenges facing Toledo's front? The 3-3 stack's kind of a unique challenge for you.
Yeah, they're in and out of a lot of defensive fronts. They play, pretty standard what their coverages are. They like their coverages, but their fronts, they mix them up, and that does give you some challenges from time to time. Now we've used to practicing against some of the 3-down stuff, so that has helped. But they're an experienced group. They've won. I mean, they're MAC champions, right? They're a conference championship program, and they've won for a long time there, and really doing some good things. They're coached well. They're physical, and they play hard, and that shows up on film. You can see those things on film, and have a lot of respect for what they're doing there. And that team coming in here is looking to get a win, and so we got to step up our game and come ready to play.
But if it does go a rotation in any capacity, what's the key to making that work for those guys from a rhythm standpoint and making sure they're kind of on where they need to be?
I think just the chemistry of the unit is really helpful. Those guys trust each other. Most of them have played a lot of football together, and they trust each other. There's a bond there that's kind of forged through some of the hardships we've been through as a unit, and they've had great leaders. They've got great leaders in the past and good leadership now, and they work really hard. And our preparation is a competitive advantage for us. The way they prepare mentally and physically throughout the off season, but then even into camp and the game week, they'll go into that game prepared, and that's going to give them a chance to compete with whoever's out there.
How eager are you to see Josh Kreutz take the job here at center and get his first kind of start there?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Josh. He's a phenomenal football player, really high football IQ. We've talked about all his attributes, and now we get to see him cut it loose. And I think that's the exciting part for me as a coach. Is it's a long time. I told him the other day, it's a long time coming. And he's earned it, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
For a guy like him, he's had some snaps, but is there a way you prepare him for the lights and the adrenaline, or is that just a first-time thing that he has to do?
Well, he'll get that experience. It is kind of a unique thing, your first big start, especially in Big Ten, and he'll get that kind of full go on Saturday. But I think he's ready. I think he's been, he's traveled with us since he's a freshman, and he's seen it. He's been to big games, and he's been around football his whole life. So I don't think that'll be new. I think just harnessing a little bit of that aggression and kind of channeling that energy into something that we know he can do. So I'm excited to see what he can do and let him cut it loose. Let's go play. So he'll be just fine.
You and Brett talked about how Geski's jump has maybe surprised you over the last 2 years. Like, what has surprised you about, or what's that progress been like for him?
Well, I think it's just exceeded maybe our expectations and how fast it got. When he came in, he was a small town, small school, small football, and 260 pounds when he got here, and we kind of had a different vision in mind, right, of the type of lineman we recruit. You can kind of see who that is, but we laid forth some challenges. I mean, a lot of guys in his class aren't here, and he's just continued to work, continued to grow. He wants to learn. Again, another kid with a great football background. His dad playing at Nebraska, and I think he's a tough kid. He's smart, and like Coach always talks about, he's dependable, right? So he fits everything we want, and then he's worked his tail off in the weight room to gain the weight, nutrition. He's got a phenomenal just approach to how he built his body up, right? And it wasn't just a flash. I gained 30 pounds in 2 weeks. It was a process, and he fits that kind of mold to a T. And now, he's got a chance to play some tackle in the spring, and getting a chance to play some guard now in fall camp, and so he's a versatile player as well. And I think that's just helped his development. So excited for him.
Coach, have you been satisfied with what you've seen from the pass protection, especially in the scrimmages? It seems like Toledo's going to send some. They tend to send some pressure.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever satisfied with our protection. We kind of have a saying, as long as it takes, right? And that's a hard thing to do, right? Is continue to stay on, strain, finish. I mean, we preach that every day, and I feel like you can always finish more, you can always strain harder, you can always do some of those things to really eliminate any doubt. And we still have a long way to go in that light. In my opinion, I think it's just as a unit, we have a long way to go. I don't think when you're satisfied is when you're going to get beat. And so we have to. We've got to do a lot to answer, even from what we did last year, and last year's results not good enough. We went 1-4 in the last half, and that's not acceptable. So we have some work to do, and ours certainly cut out for us.
With 3 returning starters, have you noticed the install during camp or what you're doing during game week is a little cleaner and at least a little crisper with their understanding of year 2 of what Barry wants to do offensively?
Yeah, I do feel that, and spring helped too, right? So you get the spring with some continuity in the spring, and then it carries over to fall camp. We spend a lot of time on install, but we install very quickly in the room. And there's a lot of things that we can do that are the same for us, but maybe a different look for everybody else, right? And for us, really, it's the same rule. So that has helped, right? And having that experience up there has really been kind of a blessing. And then a guy like Kreutz, who doesn't have a lot of playing experiences,
Sure.
but the knowledge of the game and his work ethic and things, we've really been able to instill things kind of like where we left off. And so that part's been kind of advantageous for me as a coach. Yeah.
To that end, because you have so much versatility in the guys you play, guard and tackle viability, can you guys tweak things pretty easily as well? Like, hey, this guy can do stuff that a guard can do all the way out if we kick him all the way outside?
Yeah, we can. I don't know if you ever want to do that, but that's why we do it the way we do, so we can get the best 5 out there, right? And whoever that may be. So it might be a different combination. You might move a guy outside and fill his role, and or you might move a guy up, to fill an outside role. So it just kind of depends on really the situation, the game plan, who's playing well, what their strengths are. But that is a big advantage of being versatile, is having value at other positions, right? And so now you go in carrying 8 guys that we feel like can play at any 5, right? And now you don't have to travel 13 guys up front. So there is certainly some benefit to that.
Julian Pearl has natural ability, and what are you looking from him in terms of taking another step this year?
Well, with Julian, obviously he's incredibly talented. He has really a year and a half of starting under his belt, and for him to take the next step, right? I mean, we challenged him in the offseason with a lot of things. We challenged him with his preparation mentally. We challenged him with his offseason workouts, with his fundamentals, his technique, and some of the rawness in his game. And I think that's always a work in progress. I mean, even the best in the business, right, are continually mastering their craft and working on their craft, and that's exactly what Julian's pushing himself to do, is to become the best version of him. And I don't want him to be, a Vidarian or anybody else, or a Joe Thomas or anybody else. I want him to be, the best Julian Pearl, and so he's he's working every day to get that, and excited to see what he can do.
How have you seen Isaiah step up and find his voice in that leadership to be named a team captain?
Well, first of all, just very proud of him to have that type of ownership within the team, within the unit. He's been here 1 year and he was elected captain by his teammates. I think that says a lot to his character and says a lot to his work ethic. And when your best players are some of your best men, that's a good sign with your program, and that's what he's done. So for him to embrace that, I think it's a challenge. I think it's something, I don't know if he expected, but certainly he fits that role. And sometimes leadership opportunities come when you least expect it, and when people depend on you, the pressure is on. But that's usually when the best rise, and that's hopefully what we're seeing out of Isaiah.